So I have to tell you, Toya, at the Winter Teaching Institute, I didn't get to see your talk, but Ben did. And the next time I saw him, he was like, actually, I don't even think I saw you. I think it was a text that night. He was
Yeah.
like, we have to have Toya on our podcast. Oh my God. It was so cool.
Yeah. And Amanda was like, yes. We like she's
Well,
a badass.
when I got the invitation, I was so excited to be
Oh,
here.
good.
Like I said, I truly appreciate the invitation. I'm excited. I'm just filled with joy to be here. Like I said, you guys have good energy, so to bring me on, you know,
Well, we only bring on people who have good energy too. We're trying to keep high vibes only,
that's right.
right?
So I'm happy to
And
be
if
part of the
and if
club.
you're one of our friends that has good energy, we just haven't gotten to you yet. That's like you just
Touche. That was good.
I'm just trying to save us some angry work looks.
Good job.
What's wrong with my energy, Ben? Just, right.
Welcome to Coffee Break Classroom, Root for Higher Ed, where teaching meets good vibes. We're just two friends who love our work, our students, and more importantly, a good laugh. Here you can expect a blend of ridiculous classroom stories, a little education research, as well as some practical teaching advice. So grab your coffee, settle in. It sounds like it's going to be a good episode today.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on Coffee Break Classroom. We are here with a very special guest, LaToya Manon. Let me put on my old lady glasses. LaToya Manon is a dynamic educator, an entrepreneur, and a passionate advocate for her community. I just want to stop reading for a second to be like, I love Toya and I have loved you like since the first day we met. I love your energy. Who brings heart and hustle to everything she does. It's like I meant it when I wrote it. Uh, Toya is an assistant professor of education at Monroe Community College and is passionate about preparing the next generation of teachers, equipping them not just with knowledge, but with the confidence and purpose to transform classrooms and lives. Her approach is deeply informed by her years as a teacher and administrator in the Rochester City School District, where she developed a reputation for showing up, lifting up others, and making learning matter.
Deeply committed to expanding opportunity in education, Toya was also the director of the BIPOC Teacher Mentoring Program, a program designed to connect educators with meaningful support networks and vital resources while helping address projected teacher shortages across New York. The initiative reflects her unwavering dedication to building stronger, more representative pathways into the teaching profession.
But beyond higher ed, Toya serves as the lead education consultant and lead projects manager with Sustainable Living LLC with Tram. What an amazing woman! Where she helps design and lead community centered initiatives that blend education, wellness, creativity, and empowerment. In this role, she brings her expertise in teaching and learning into innovative projects that support sustainable living, youth development, and meaningful community engagement.
But Toya's impact doesn't stop at the classroom door. As a co-owner with her childhood friend of Happy Chicks, a vibrant Rochester business involving water marbling, she blends creativity with entrepreneurship to create a space centered on joy, style, and self-expression. She's also the mother of two adult children, a grandmother of one, and a wife. Whether she's mentoring future educators, strengthening the teacher pipeline, supporting the community, or growing a small business, Toya leads with authenticity, warmth, and an infectious energy that makes people feel seen, supported, and inspired.
And I would just like to give a shout out to Happy Chicks because I gave your earrings for Christmas one year to like everyone I knew because they're so colorful and joyful and like happy. You can tell that you were happy when you were making those earrings. They were
I'm gonna
awesome.
have to look this up because my sister teaches in like middle school and she
Oh,
loves
yeah.
like big earrings. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can come to the studio and design your own earrings.
Hell. So Toya, let's start off with you leading us wherever you want to, but what brought you to teaching at a community college? Because you've been in a lot of different venues in your life.
Somewhere in my early years, I knew I wanted to be a professor. I will say that. But then life kind of takes you on all different directions and you forget that childhood dream or goal. And I went into the teaching world. Excuse me, let me back up for a second. I started off working at Hillside Behavioral Health System. So
Mm-hmm.
my work has always been grounded in the people profession, working with human beings. And so working with youth there who needed a placement just until things got settled and needing that safe space, that safe environment, until things were settled with their family, and then moving on from there to work at Center for Youth Services, uh, doing, going out speaking to youth about healthy decision making, conflict management, all of those things. And then eventually the opportunity to move into teaching came along. And so I taught. And then, you go through the natural progression. I'm like, okay, I'm teaching and I'm rocking it. What's next? I've
Mhm.
always loved learning. And so I'm like, okay, I have my master's, but what do you do now? What comes after, you become a teacher? So I'm looking around, everybody, getting their administrative degree. So I'm like, okay, Brockport it is. I sign up, I get my, admin cert and eventually take a position as a coordinating administrator of special education.
Cool.
And then
My sister's doing that right
yeah.
now, actually. She's getting her admin degree for that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, she will be needed. Uh, she will be needed.
Yeah, she
But it's
knows.
it's it's a wonderful position and you really can really affect change in that position.
That's awesome.
Um and then from there I kind of went back in the classroom, which it was really cool to go back in the classroom after being an administrator because it was like you kind of pulled the curtains back on everything and you saw how
Mhm.
things work. So I like to think that it made me a better teacher. Um, and then I went into another position that supported students who were transitioning from their school closures. And
Okay.
then after that, I went into a assistant principal position. And I kind of was like Forrest Gump. When Forrest is like running and running, and then he just stops, like, he has everybody behind him, and then he just stops. And that was me. It was just like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. And so I I quit my job. And it just so happens, honestly, that an opportunity opened up at MCC in education. So I said, oh, the universe is doing its thing. And
Mm.
Yes.
so, you know,
Yes.
um, Dr. Graham, we always laugh about it because she's the one who let me know, like, hey, this position opened up. And so I applied and, here I am now as assistant professor. This is
Oh,
my fourth year. So
cool.
it's been wonderful, really getting my feet on the ground, seeing how I can be a part of the college has just been really awesome.
I had no idea you came in after me. I just felt like you've always been here.
Oh,
Like-
yeah, no, I've been here. It's 4 years, 5 years,
Oh, wow.
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the year right after I came in then, I think, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah. I had you
2022.
in
Yeah.
second year faculty
Yeah.
series, and I had Toya in first year faculty
Okay.
series.
Okay.
It was
You
wild. It was
you
great.
just you have that energy like you've been here for a while and like you know what's up. Like
You just like hit the ground running, like you
yeah.
really did, for sure.
Yeah, I was so excited about so being able to teach educators
Mm,
is really it's almost like a dream come true because it's like, yeah, I truly love teaching youth. I truly love working with high schoolers.
Hmm.
But now it's the impact that I can
yeah.
see that I can make. Planting the seed with educators who are going to go out there and work with youth. There were
Hmm.
things that, just dots that I felt that needed to be connected when I worked in those spaces and seeing how people worked with kids or how they invited them into the space and expected them to learn and didn't make it like a space where, hey, you belong in this space. No, we're just
Yeah.
gonna make it all uncomfortable, but you still gonna learn the science. No, it doesn't work like that.
It does
Nope.
not.
So so yeah, I forgot. I had a destination with that point I was making, but it's gone.
No, that's fine. It's a perfect segue because like your talk at our winter professional development was about the power of belonging, right? And creating inclusive classrooms. And I was there and I was like, this is what I've been wanting to do. Like I want an episode on this, like on the podcast. And I was like, this is perfect. I don't have to do all the work. Like I can just bring Toya.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like how long have you been thinking about like belonging in the classroom and like really where did that start for you? Like the work that you did to put that talk together.
So it's a funny thing because like I said, I've always felt the need to create a sense of community. One thing that I've learned about people is that in order for you to help get your message across and to help them feel comfortable delivering their message, they have to feel comfortable. They have to feel like
Hmm.
they can take risks. So it's always been a part of what I do, my introduction to people and creating those safe spaces from the group home to the classrooms. It's always been important to me, but I think I really, really didn't have the language for it then. I just knew it was community.
Hmm.
It wasn't until I was working at Dr. Freddie Thomas High School, which
Hmm.
I just knew, okay, just between us, I just knew that I was going to retire from that school. I had seen on TV, TV or even growing up that like teachers lasted in schools forever
Hmm.
and then they closed it. And I was
Oh.
like, what is this? I've never heard of this. Like, what is this new thing? And
Mm.
so it was almost like the rug had been pulled from under my feet. Um,
Yeah.
because everyone there was like family. No one was leaving that school.
Yeah.
The students were happy to be there, parents were happy, and then we get this notice that we're closing. And all of the kids are going to kind of be dispersed to different schools. And so that's where I kind of was like, yeah, this isn't. And so from there, I needed to understand. I knew I was feeling something.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I'm feeling something and I'm an adult, I can only imagine what kids are feeling. Because, we
Hmm.
go to high school, we plan to be there for that 4 years, right? No
Yep.
one, no one intends on going to high school here 2 years and then transferring somewhere else.
Hmm.
And so that's what really brought me to the U of R, and doing my research on looking at belonging, looking at student identity development, coping, and student experiences and systems that aren't really built for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. And
Yeah, it
also,
is.
like, what a plot twist in your life that you don't see coming. And then, like, for us, what a great thing for us. Although it led you on a completely different journey, probably than you were intending.
No, I think it led me on a journey I was supposed to be on.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
the universe, I tell you, it does its thing all the
It does its
time.
thing.
Mhm.
So,
So I haven't heard any of the quotes that you shared at your presentation, but and so I kind of love that because then in addition to not having to prep, like I feel like I get to like respond in an authentic way. But what is a quote that you shared from your research that you found particularly inspiring?
okay, so one of the quotes that I opened up, that I kind of segue into a section of the workshop with, was from Bell Hooks,
Okay, yeah.
belonging a culture of place. And she talks about, well, the quote is, what matters is that should difference enter the world of beloved community, it can find a place of welcome, a place to belong.
I love that.
And
So
so, go
what
ahead.
no, I was going to ask you what about that like really grips you?
So when you sit with it, first of all, it just sounds so comforting. It's just
It
like a warm
is.
blanket when you hear it. And thinking of, that place to belong, everybody wants to belong.
Yeah.
It may not be in when in one area, but we all find our areas we want to belong in. So, in the text that this actually comes from, Hook actually explores the meaning of community and connection through but the focus is on Black farmers.
Hmm.
But if you take a step back from it, she's really looking at the bigger picture. You see where she's tying this sense of belonging to a vision where everyone feels valued and rooted. Um, and just a sense of home.
Yeah.
And so, in looking at that, in going back to the quote, when I hear the word difference, it tells me that, your difference isn't going to be ignored. It's not going to be, we're not going to say, oh, we're colorblind or we don't see your difference. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to appreciate it. We know that your difference brings an extra spice to this. And so, it's part of you. And so because it's part of you, you're welcome here.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Like and just thinking about that, finding that sense of community, a place that feels like home, and like that realistically is what we should want our classrooms to be for our students. And at least I know what I want is like a space where they can kind of forget about the world for a second and just focus on what it is that they need and like be welcomed into whatever space that they're in, because we need more people that think differently and they need to be welcomed into, because everyone's going to see the world a little bit differently, right? And we need to kind of connect those pieces together. We're all one people. We're all going to use the same bridges and infrastructure. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think it
Yeah,
really boils down to the human aspect. I
right.
think so we talk around things a lot of times, but it boils down to who gets to be human, and
Hmm.
who do we humanize, or whose value do we see in these spaces? And
Yeah,
so in really creating those spaces of belonging, it's really taking a step back and looking at humanizing practices.
yeah, yeah.
I
Because when
love
I,
what you said there. Sorry, I was just distracted by I just love what you said there. Who
Thanks.
gets to be human? Like, oh, I love
yeah,
that. That's so good.
that
Sorry.
was actually, I mean, we can jump ahead a little bit because like that's kind of a conversation that really jumped out at me from the talk, and something that I was taken back to when I was like in an introductory literature class in like college. And like I loved this professor. Like shout out to Professor Doran, but like it was like sci-fi based, but like we were reading and looking at different tropes and like kind of exploring them. And one of the tropes that shows up in sci-fi all the time is like one versus other, right? Like it's this idea of like there's something else out there that like is going on and we don't understand it, right? And so part of this literature class, we read an excerpt from Simone de Beauvoir's essay called Second Sex, which like talks about the idea of otherness and how like the one sets itself up, right? And draws the boundary of like what is one and like what is other. And like that's really kind of this idea of like who gets to be human, right? It's like drawing the line of like who is going to be in the one and then who is other, right? And I was thinking a lot from your talk just about what do we do in the classroom, either like unconsciously or like consciously, that is like creating that boundary. Like where are we creating that boundary as educators? And that really kind of helped me kind of reflect on that space and being intentional about not setting that boundary. All right, like how do we move towards a sense of shared oneness without being trapped in this dichotomy of like one another and who gets to be human and who gets to be here in the classroom and who doesn't?
Those
That's
are
a good
big
question.
questions.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah, yeah. It's a big question, but it just really resonated with me. Like we're talking about belonging, and it just took me back to this.
So I have been I'm in grad school right now. And so my research has to do with equitable grading that like Ben and I do.
Hmm.
And what's funny is that there's like tons of different equitable grading techniques, which I know you know about because we've worked on committees about them together. So
Yeah.
like, but what's funny is that my research has just pulled me just like into the literature on like self-determination theory, which is an idea of like how to help students like nurture their and foster their motivation. And there's three things that a student needs to increase their motivation. Um, and one is autonomy, feeling like they have control over their own lives and their own like existence.
Hmm.
And the second is competence. They need to feel like they can do it. And then the third thing is relatedness. And that's like the belonging piece, right? And that, like, and I think that goes back to something you said earlier about like, just because you're like, we're here to learn science, if you haven't created like the environment where students feel like they are valued by their classmates, by you, like you've created the environment where they feel safe, then their motivation, you can never really nurture that motivation because the whole time they are worried about they're worried about feeling safe and they can't learn, or they're using so much cognitive load on that they can't learn,
Yeah.
sort of
Yes,
focus their motivation anywhere else.
that psychological harm that happens in the classroom where, they're looking around for those indicators to tell
Hmm.
them, hey, I belong here, whether it's in your a slide presentation, a slide deck that has this multicultural representation on it,
Yep.
in the language that we sometimes use, are is your student speaking to you and you're correcting them as they talk? It's
Yeah.
it may be something small, but it can be a big thing for that person. And it goes the other way around. The really little things that we don't pay attention to can make a big difference in creating a space of welcome and home for people, and nurture that sense of belonging.
So what are some of the things that you do to not foster that sense of belonging?
Um, so I tell my students right off the bat, I'm very human. I make mistakes. I laugh at myself all the time. Uh, Even in welcoming them to the class, I'm making sure as they're coming in, I will say I try to make sure that I'm greeting them all. Sometimes I'm
Yeah.
like, I have my back turned because I'm trying to get the agenda up because I
Yep.
really like to have a schedule of what we're doing, an agenda. Because that also creates, it helps
Yeah.
students kind of know, okay, this is what we're doing for the day and this is how we're going to
Yes.
progress. So that's very important to me, and I make sure that's consistent across the class, that students have that to refer to. Making sure I learn their names,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
their preferred names is
Yep.
extremely important. And
Uh,
then I check in and I let them know off the bat, yep, I'm real nosy. So we're gonna check in, and I want to know how you're doing on a scale. Sometimes it might be a SpongeBob scale. Sometimes it's just a scale of
Yay.
1 to 5. But how are you doing? And some students, they'll feel comfortable and they'll say, I'm a 3 because of,
mhm.
and they'll put themselves out there. And that's an indicator for other students to let them know that, hey, it's okay here. And I appreciate that, especially with students who had me previously, who know, how my classes operate. And so they kind of signal to other students, this, it's
Yeah.
okay. And so that's one of the things I'll do. And then there's other questions that I'll ask them. Like sometimes, would you rather sing everything or dance out everything? And so I get to understand them, just a little by little slivers of what they're saying. I get a picture into their life that allows me to kind of put together this person.
Yeah.
And not necessarily things that they would have absolutely told me if I asked.
For sure.
I love that. The names thing is a big deal for me, and like that's something I really try to get done in the first week. And I was proud of myself this semester because I have one class of like new students. I managed to learn all of their names on day one. Like they
Oh.
play a board. I make a board game for my course information sheet and like a little Excel overview. So I have them play a board game day one that asks them questions about the course information sheet, about Excel in general, some basic math stuff. So like it's relevant to the course. It saves me from talking for 40 minutes about course policies. And like I go around and like write down their name tense and like quiz myself. So like I learn all of their names and like test myself the first day and I got them all. So I was like saying goodbye to people and I had somebody that was like, "You learned everybody's names? It's day one." And I'm like, "Yes, I did, Joshua." And he was like, "Oh," like he's like, "Oh, you got me." Like it's just
You deserve all the good things for that.
yeah.
That is amazing. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I think it takes me till normally about the end of week 2, beginning of week
Mhm.
Yeah,
2.
that's usually what it is for me too. I don't know how it happened, but I just managed to get them this time. Like I write them all down and then I grab a blank sheet of paper and I go around the room and try and write down what I remember their name is. And it's just, it worked. I don't know, it clicked this semester, but
Yeah, that
it means a
strategy
lot.
works.
Yeah, to be able to walk up to a student and start the conversation with like, what do you need? Like, and then say their name, right? Or like, how can I help and say their name? Because it makes that connection.
And
Yeah.
I think we can look at how it feels with us. If somebody walks up
Mhm.
to us and say, "Hey, then what do you need?" We know
Yeah.
how it makes us feel. So
Right.
it's not rocket science to try and figure out how do you make spaces that welcomes people. It's
Right.
not. It
Yeah.
may take a little bit of work, a little bit of reframing, redoing things, but it's not. You put yourself, well, you don't even have to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
Think about what you need. Think about the things that make you feel like you belong in a space and start from there.
Totally. Totally.
I, I like the other thing that you touched on, putting the schedule on the board, because like that's a transparency piece, right? Of like knowing what is expected of you in a space, right? And so how many of our students have gone through systems that are like intentionally vague and not clear, and then to like show up in the classroom and then not know what you're supposed to do, like where other people know what they're supposed to be doing and are doing it, and don't get to see yourself that way. Like that's
Yes,
very much a space that puts you in that other category.
yes.
Totally. Totally. So can I ask you, as like a person who is like obviously not only a trained educator, but a person with a tremendous amount of teaching experience, are you sometimes shocked at how little most college teachers know about teaching? Because
You're trying to.
I was one of those. Like when I first started, like the first lecture I ever taught was at MCC, and it was daunting. But like you
Are you
come
gonna
in with
blink
this.
my face out on this answer?
Well, do some
Can we do this like, yeah, do a
voice
voice?
modulation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to say I absolutely was. And it was something, it's funny that you brought that question up.
Mhm.
It was something that I had to figure out how like am I supposed to change my teaching style to this? Or, and so I was like, okay, wait a minute,
hmm
that was the struggle for me. And it was times where I questioned, maybe I don't belong here because maybe this is academia. This is how it's done here, you
That's what they
know.
like to think.
And then it's like, I'm going through my first and second year,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh no, that's not how that's not
Right,
how
right.
teaching is done.
But also like I know all of this already though. Like why?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, okay. And so then even getting the response of students, because that's very important to me. I could think I'm
hmm
amazing as a teacher, but if students aren't getting it, I ain't doing nothing but performing at that point. You
hmm
know what I mean?
hmm
Yes.
So I'm always checking in with them. Is this working? Is there, is there some way I can tweak this to make sure that you get it? One of the things I really like to do is eavesdrop during their group work
Hmm.
conversations because
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's where you really get to learn everything. And they completely put all their walls down about whether they did the reading or not. Um, but I love it because they kind of build off of each other. And
Hmm.
Yes.
then they realize they know a lot more than what they thought they did. And they're more willing to share in those small groups than when
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been in a big group. So,
My favorite thing to do when I'm teaching a lab or something is just sit in the middle of the room and then just listen to all of the conversations at the same time. And
Hmm.
they have no idea that I'm listening. But so like, but then I'm like, when I hear that they're starting to question something, I'll just start to navigate in over to that space because I'm like, they won't ask questions unless I'm within 5 feet of them. Like I don't know what that is, but like I just feel like, oh, did you have a question? Like,
at least you pretend. I don't.
yeah.
I just
There are times where I will just like shout across the room, like I'll just answer them from across the room, but I don't think they know that that was to them. I don't know.
So this
yeah, I
happens.
don't pretend at all.
That's so good.
I'm like, hey, that was really good. Say it again. Yeah, they're like, me? Yes, you.
Yes. So I was teaching today and I have a teaching assistant this semester. And we're paying her through a grant, but she's like a major of ours and she started taking the class. And so she actually gave her first lecture today, which went really well. And then the students were like, "Can we listen to music during lab?" Which I usually do. Last week we live streamed like this camera in Africa, and it was distracting because the students just watched the giraffes like the whole time. It sucked up lab time, but
I would want to watch the giraffes
Yeah,
also.
I
me
know.
too.
It
Yeah.
was so this week, they asked the TA if she could play like her Spotify playlist, and they loved it. The students loved it. It was like 80s music, and like the students were doing their lab, but they were also like singing and like bopping along. So then a candidate who was interviewing for an adjunct position like knocked on my door because he was lost, and they students opened the door, and he was looking around like, what the hell is going on in this classroom? And I was like, hi, I'm the professor. Can I help you? And then I redirected him. But I just felt like I got caught by my parents acting like a fool. But like it was so fun and it was productive and the students were having a fantastic time. So
So how do we
I
change that? How do we change
like the
that?
perception that that isn't work,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's $1 million question right there, at least.
I don't know if you can show up with your test grades at the end of the semester and just be like,
Right?
they've still learned. Like,
That
Learning can be
works.
yeah,
joyful.
yeah.
Yes.
100%. I had a student yesterday that asked me, he's like, I'm going to listen to your music today while I work on Excel stuff. And I was like, I don't think you want to listen to like my music. It's like fine. He's like, no, no, no. What's like your top thing? And I was like, well, I've been listening to a lot of Florence and the Machine lately, but just like, it's like, and I was like, do you want a musical? And they're like, this is not a student that I would have pinned for like a musical. But I've also been listening to like Epic, which is like basically a retelling of like Odysseus, but like as a musical, or the Odyssey,
Oh,
but as a
wow.
musical. It slaps, or like whatever the kids are saying these days. And like he's like, yeah, I'll do that, I'll do that. And so like I found it for him, and he's just there, and he's like, I'll give that like a 7.5 out of 10. And I was like, okay, I'll take it. Like I was not expecting that at all. Like I was just like, you don't want my music.
That's awesome.
I
That's
love that.
awesome.
And with that, you gave him a window into your world.
Right.
Yes, yeah, yeah. He also taught me how to dap up last week, so I don't.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I was like,
Okay.
he left class, and then I left, and then he came back and he goes, "Hey, hey, hey! I need like somebody said you might know how to do this," and like reaches out his hand to like shake my hand, but then starts doing like I don't know whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, he's like, you don't know? Okay, I'm gonna teach you. So I'm just like, okay, all right, thanks.
That should have been video recorded, is all I'm
Probably,
saying.
yeah.
I'm sad. I'm sad. I want to ask your question. I feel like we've lost the plot here on our questions, but the
Yeah,
conversation is
no,
so
it's
good that who
okay. It's
cares?
okay. I mean, I was just thinking because like that's a student who I had for a semester, but it didn't really work out for him. And then like he
Oh,
came back a year later, and I was just like always like, hey, when you're ready to come back, let me know. Like I'll help you out. And like he came back to me, and I helped him get back in classes. So it's just like making that connection to students, even if they're not going to be able to finish a class, right? Like
yeah.
if there's he made it back, but
That's
um.
lovely.
Yay.
Yeah, so we're also our big theme for this year in the TCC is about belonging as well, our Teaching and Creativity Center. And Amanda and I have been in a book group. Amanda's been running the book group called it's on a book, Impact of a Sense of Belonging in College. It's a
Yes.
bunch of different research pieces. It's been a really nice book to go through because you actually have the research that's like, yeah, this justifies the things that we already
Yeah.
know. It's like you got data. Um, but one of the like, yes, this like moments that I had when I was reading was like the first chapter, looking at an overlap of students in their sense of belonging, and it broke it up into like privileged students and minoritized students. And like the overlap in the middle was like fun and engaging. And then but where the minoritized students, the category under minoritized students was a need for like safety and authenticity. And I was just like this like yes, like this, right? Students being able to be their authentic selves in the classroom, and like being queer in general. I was like, oh, you mean other people don't need to feel safe? Like I was like, this is like something that only I've been worrying about this entire time, like other people haven't been worrying about safety. So like I know that's been there. So like not necessarily a question, but just kind of open dialogue around like that Maslow's hierarchy of needs that you had talked about a little bit in your presentation.
Yeah. If students are in survival mode, they're not going anywhere.
Hmm.
you know, whether they're hungry or whether you know, and part of and or they don't feel safe. They can't, you know, they're not gonna learn. If they don't feel like they belong, they're not going to learn. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. And Amanda, you said it a little bit earlier in the conversation. If their mind is kind of looking all over for these things to connect them in that space, then they're distracted
Yeah.
by that. And those are barriers that we can remove. We can actually do something about it.
Hmm. Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's probably worth a Google. But like the basically the idea is you can't have higher levels unless you satisfy the bottom part of the pyramid. And the bottom part of the pyramid is the physiological needs. So like having food and housing and water, which like we have students that don't have
Yeah.
access to those things. And we can't even get them to a place of being like of learning if they're fighting for survival, as you were really saying, right? And then the next level is safety and security. Then we have love and belonging. So like in order to get up to the higher level, like belonging is like 3 steps up. And then there's a self-esteem, whether or not they feel confidence, sense of achievement, and then after that we get to that self-actualization. But the first thing that needs to happen is their physiological needs, then they need safety, and then we have to get to belonging.
So, can I share a quick story of a student that I just reached out to this week because I was a little worried about her? So I have this class, and most of them went to the previous class together. So there's like a cohort feeling to it for sure. And then I have two students who are really, really quiet, and she's one of the really, really quiet students. And I went over to her, and I was kind of like doing what you were doing. I was like creeping on her during group work, and I was noticing that she wasn't really talking and stuff like that. But on the first day, I went around and I met her, and so this is my geology class, and she was talking to me about how she lit up when she was like, "Oh my God, so I have this rock and I don't know what it is, but I really like, do you think you could look at it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely look at your rock." So, but then things get busy and she didn't do that. And so I noticed that she was like a little disconnected. And then I peeked on her and I was like, she doesn't really understand like what we're doing in class right now. So instead of like being like, "Hey, I think you should come to office hours," I like sent her a little note on her quiz and I was like, "Hey, I want you to bring that rock that you told me about to office hours this week because I really want to see it." So it was like I was trying to bridge this connection with her without being like, "I see you're struggling in class. Let's talk about
Hmm.
something serious." It was like, what if I build a human moment with this girl and we worry less about geology because I need to pick apart to see what's going on kind of under the hood, I think, a little in there.
I love that.
Yes.
I haven't figured out what to
Yes.
do with the other quiet student, but I think it should be okay for students to be quiet. I think that,
Please,
Absolutely.
right?
please, Amanda, let us be quiet.
I think it goes back to the Bell Hooks quote that you said that we bring our differences with
Yeah.
us, right? And that's
I,
beautiful.
I was thinking about that because I was like, I wonder how Toya's going to respond when I ask to bring her on the podcast because I said basically nothing in that whole session. But I have a lot to talk about, actually. I don't know.
No, it's all good. It's all good. And I think it's very worthwhile talking about, you know,
Yeah.
especially, you know, like we said, we're at a community college
Yeah.
Hmm.
and we want to welcome students. Everybody belongs at a community college.
100%.
It's community. So
Yes.
if we're kind of discouraging people from coming to a community college, we probably need to rethink things a little bit.
100%.
Yes.
I'm going to use that in a department meeting later.
Oh my God. Wait, can you hit us with another one of your cool quotes?
So another one that I used in the was by Paulo Freire.
Oh, I love him.
And it was actually from his book, We Make the Road by Walking, Conversations on Education and Social Change.
Awesome.
And the quote was, "The teacher is, of course, an artist, but being an artist does not mean that he or she can make the profile, can shape the students. What the educator does in teaching is to make it possible for the students to become themselves.
Yes.
And
That's fun.
I chose that, that was the final quote in the presentation. And I chose that because it really outlines the powerful role that we
Hmm.
have as educators. Um, but it also emphasizes the agency of students.
Yeah.
And
I,
that,
I,
and giving them that autonomy to become who they're supposed to be. We're just creating that environment, that
Yeah.
space. We're
mhm.
I don't know, I don't want to say this, Amanda, because you are like science, but we're like maybe the nurturing soil. Is that a good,
That
Yeah.
is
and
perfect.
so then, we're pouring into them, but also just creating a great environment for them to
Hmm.
become.
Yeah, that's hitting me like a lot different now. I think I wasn't sure what to think about it initially, but just hearing you read it, I'm like thinking about how as educators we're like the maybe the lowest level is like, oh, we have to fill the buckets. Like students are buckets, we have to dump the knowledge in. But then there's maybe a higher level of people who are like, oh no, we're like sculpting students. Like our job is to sculpt students into like whatever they're supposed to be, engineers, geologists, educators. And like that's not what this quote is saying at all, right? It's the idea that we're just kind of giving them the tools and they can sculpt themselves however they want. That's really
Yeah.
the autonomy piece of it. Yeah.
It's really taking the ego out of the profession.
Yes.
And like I said, it is going back to that autonomy and agency and recognizing that
Mm-hmm.
students are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And all human beings go through a
Yes.
process of growth, development, and becoming. I don't think we ever become who we're supposed to actually be until like I don't, till it's time to
Yeah.
go wherever we think we're going, because we're
But then we
always becoming, we're
yeah.
always changing, always growing. Every situation in life takes us on different paths. And I think we have to recognize that as a experience for students as well.
Yeah.
How cool is it that you are getting to like teach people who now will take that and like be teachers themselves? Like that just has to tickle you just
I
based.
I am super excited. I know that sometimes they're probably like, okay, lady. But I'm like, after they leave, when they're telling me they're graduating or they take the 2 to 3 classes that they can take with me,
Yeah.
I'm like, please invite me to your classroom when you get your classes. Please just, I won't even interrupt. I won't try and teach you. Let me sit in the back. I just want to see. Because for me, you don't sometimes you don't get to see the end of your work, like
Hmm.
where how that
Yes.
seed was planted. And I want to see it.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's
No,
no
no,
shame
I'm
in
with
my
you.
game. I want to see it. Where are you
I
teaching at? Let me come over there.
I'm just starting to get that where I've got students that are like, "Oh, I just got this job," or "I just got this job," or like, and I'm just like, "Yes!" like I'm finally
Right.
I'm getting to see it. Yeah.
So like a month ago, we got our my department got a letter with a calendar in it from the Department of Natural Resources in Utah. And there was a note in there that was written to Jessica, my chair, and I. And he's like, I don't know if you remember me. I was a student in your class in 2005. And I just want you to know how deeply like I was impacted by your class, and I work at the Department of Natural Resources in Utah. I didn't even know that this kid like was a maybe he wasn't a geology major, but like he went on and he like loved it, and like you just never know. And so like Ben, I feel like you're at the beginning of that, and so
Hmm.
like it's just flooring because you never know like what the impact of a teacher is like sometimes for decades. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, because it's like 2 years later. Like I haven't had this student for like 2 or 3 years. It's just like, I
Yeah,
want to let you know I just got a job in South Carolina. And I'm like, okay, cool.
that's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
And I think
Yeah.
how that shows how meaningful the connection was with you
Yeah.
as the, professor for that class, because they didn't have to reach back out
No.
to you.
Yeah.
They didn't have
20
to
years
say
later,
anything.
no.
Right. or whether, whether it's a year later or 2 years later,
Yeah.
they
Right.
can go on about their lives and look at, MCC as just being a step in,
Yep.
along their pathway. But the fact that they take the time to
Yeah.
reach out and say, hey, look at me, I'm doing this, lets you know that you did something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I love it when they don't even like do I do love it for sure when they don't do like geology, when they are like off doing something, but maybe you like either sometimes you don't know, you're like holding it down for a student because there's all sorts of stuff going outside of the class and that's like the only place that they feel like connected to other people. And you hear from them years later and it's just because like they saw something and they thought of you and it like made them reach out and it's just like, oh, it just hits you in the feels and you're like, oh, you have no idea where your influence ends. And sometimes, some days it feels like you have no impact at all. And you're like, well, I tried today. And then other days you're just like, oof, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
I need to go write an email to that professor for my intro to lit class now.
You should
I did look up to see if she
Yeah.
was still there and she is, and I was gonna write an email and I
do
didn't last week,
it.
but yeah, I'm gonna do that now. It's going on my
Oh,
to-do
that's so
list.
awesome. That's so
That'd be
awesome.
great.
That wasn't even my major. Like it was a gen ed
Right.
class. Yeah, no, I know.
That is the point. Oh my God. So wait, Toya, do you have a favorite teacher? This isn't on a question that we wrote down. It's just I was
It's
just
fine.
curious.
We're kind of at the end.
Yeah.
A favorite teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, um, oh gosh. Okay, I'm trying to think back to high school.
That's
It's,
okay.
it's a favorite
Mm.
teacher, but my high school years were Um, I showed up, I did what I needed to do and done and got out of there.
Fair enough.
Um, I think my favorite teacher probably would be my professor from grad school,
Okay.
um, Dr. Swanson, Dr.
Mm-hmm.
Dana Swanson. Um, just amazing. First of all, I thought it was amazing to have a professor who looks like me. I
Mm-hmm.
can probably count on one hand how many educators from kindergarten on up to my
Hmm.
um, graduate school that looked like me. But just working in that space with her, and I still work with her now. We
Cool.
actually are have a group called Inspire. But she was just amazing in helping me understand uh how just understand how to navigate spaces
Mm-hmm.
um and really claiming my space within spaces and understanding that, yeah, nah, you belong here, you're good. Um and really and going into the research, the way she questioned things, she has this amazing knack where she can listen to something you say and you sound like you're rambling, and then she like takes it and she puts it in like this framing, and it's like, I didn't say that, but I guess if this sounds so beautiful, yes, I did say that, but I don't think I said that. And she's like, no, you did. And
Oh,
so, just those things, when you in those spaces and you look around and you don't see a bunch of students who look like you, um, and but what kept me connected to the college environment was
Hmm.
I just truly enjoy learning. I really enjoy learning. The only reason I have not gone back to school at this point is because I have my doctorate, and for
yeah.
sure it's going to cost me, right? No one's giving out any more free degrees. So I'm gonna try and get into some, like maybe some of you guys' classes, because can I
Hell
think I
yeah.
can go for free as
You can.
faculty.
You
And I just
Sure.
can.
want to sit in there.
All
That's
Um,
right.
awesome.
so yeah, I just, just having somebody who enjoyed learning and who enjoyed just framing those questions
Mm-hmm.
and just like I said, really creating a space to say, hey, you're here, you belong here, and whatever door you walk through, you're supposed to be in that space.
So my question that we always end the podcast with when we're lucky enough to have guests is if you were giving your college age self some advice, knowing what you know now, what would it be?
Okay. I think, okay, so
This is going to be good.
I don't know if it's gonna be as good as you guys think or sad, but so I really had no idea what I was gonna do when I graduated from high school. It was just like, yeah, you go to college. But I won a scholarship to go to like Brian Stratton when I was in high
Okay.
school. I think it was because of like a winter storm and I showed up and I took the test and I won a scholarship to take electronics. Never in my life had I ever talked about wanting to connect a circuit or anything. And I went. I was like, okay, well, hey, college is, college is college. It's your next step. So this must be your next step. You're going to be an electrician, Toya. And it still doesn't ring well today as I say it. Um, Lo and behold, I made it 2 semesters.
Wow.
I was like 19 years old in a class with a bunch of middle-aged men. It was the most
We're
unnerving
learning about
thing.
belonging.
Yes, and I'm like, I don't belong here, and it's my fault. It's my fault. There was nothing they could do to make me belong in that space. There was nothing.
Oh, my face hurts.
And so then I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't gonna work. This, you don't even like this. Like, you're not even interested in this. But then I got to MCC, and like I said, I was a young mom.
Yep.
So I had a family
Yep.
going to college. But I think if I gave myself any advice, it would be to maybe kind of take off the blinders and kind of live a little, connect to the space a little bit. I was really focused on just going through and getting
Mhm.
my degree. It didn't even dawn on me to show up at like a college event. It was like, yeah, that ain't for me. And I just kept on going. And
Yeah.
then it was like after that, I went on to the next school and did the same exact thing. And not once did I ever think about participating in like connecting to the college. It was just like, let me get this degree and go on with my life.
Yeah.
So I think I would really just, stop and smell the flowers.
I love that. I love that. Slow down and enjoy yourself.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That's awesome. I want to thank you for being you. You are like so joyful. You like show what happens when people are like authentic and like aligned and like you're just so wonderful to talk to. And I want to thank you for your time tonight
I
and
appreciate you
making
both.
Ben laugh until his face hurt.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate you both for, really creating a space where I could be my authentic self.
Mhm.
And feel okay making mistakes and everything else. So I really appreciate the both of you. And anytime you want me back or anytime you guys want to pair up for something outside of this, let me
Heck
know.
yeah.
Okay.
But thank you.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. All
We
right.
have to we have to find time to go make earrings now. So
Yes.
We'll pierce your ears, Ben. This is going to be
no,
so
no, no,
fun.
no. These are gonna be a gift.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We
I
also do
don't.
scarves, silk
Yes.
scarves and
Okay,
things of that
okay.
nature. So there's tons of, you could do a bandana, different
All
things
right.
like
I
that.
don't think I
Ben
could pull
loves a
off.
bandana.
I don't think I could pull off chunky earrings. I'm not sure.
I think you shouldn't limit yourself. So,
Okay.
Sky's the limit.
exactly.
Thank you both. You guys are
Thank you.
awesome.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for all of our listeners, all 9 of them, including
There's
Toya.
more. Yeah.
As I go watch this,
We have to be above 9, I think,
We do.
mathematically speaking.
We
Yeah.
do. It's true.